Is everyone
That was
kind of
impressive.
well? It's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of
I was
tentacles.
like,
It feels
I
like.
feel like I'm like down at NASA watching all these things and it's click, 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 moving this and moving that. I'm like, do we got a countdown? T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Go ignition. 1.
Very cool. May not work out tonight. That's okay if it doesn't. Let's try one more thing, then we're gonna get this thing rolling. Well, we're gonna keep rolling.
Do it.
Forget about it. Okay.
Passwords. Don't you love passwords?
Passwords.
Way too many passwords.
Way too many passwords. Okay, so well, here we go. We're starting. This is Say Goodbye to Dry Eye virtual webinar with live Q&A. I'm Dr. Bryce Heffington, and we've also got Mark Heffington with us, also known as my dad.
Good to see you. Yes.
Get this updated here. Right, that should do that.
Oh, good. Look at our name down there. That's pretty impressive.
You got to work quickly, I guess, with some of this stuff.
Hey, let's watch a video.
Yeah, so let's get the presentation rolling.
Hey, wait a minute. Before we get going,
we need to open with prayer.
Would you open us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we love you. We praise you. We thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity and the technology you've given us to shepherd, facilitate questions, and to learn more along the way, God, to help folks with dry eyes, Meibomian gland restoration, everything that can help make vision better and to help your creation. Yes. We love you and just thank you for the ways that you grow, shape, challenge, and mold us, become stronger men of God. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, well, we'll get that presentation rolling for y'all here shortly. And we'll come back with Q&A afterwards. We need to do this one instead. Thank you. That's better. Hi, I'm Dr. Bryce Heffington with Heffington's House of Vision, and I'd like to welcome you to the Say Goodbye to Dry Eyes virtual event. Stick around to the end of the event for a live Q&A session where you'll be able to submit your questions in the questions tab and have them answered by me. One person in attendance tonight is going to be able to win these procedures one time, free, no charge whatsoever. For up to 2 weeks after the event, we're going to be doing a promotional to where these procedures will be discounted 50% off. So basically, you're buying treatment for one eye and getting it for free on the second eye. So stick around and let's learn. So we have the MD Elite iPro-X IPL device and the MD Elite Infinity Pro low-level light therapy device. What are these two devices? So let's talk about the iPro-X first. It is an IPL device that is designed to superheat the skin, regenerate collagen, eliminate dryness and inflammation with light-based therapy. It's non-invasive. It feels wonderful because historically, IPL devices typically hurt. It's like someone snapping a rubber band on your face and repeatedly doing that. The beauty of this device, the iPro-X, is that it not only combines intense pulse light, IPL, but also with radio frequency, RF, to help regenerate skin collagen development and to be able to diminish and significantly reduce any and all pain during the procedure to where most people don't even hardly feel anything other than just a little poke, basically, at most. That's worst case scenario. Now, what's the second device? The low-level light therapy device called the Infinity Pro. This is a multi-panel device that has several different color options, including infrared, in order to be able to help get light energy down inside the skin, help regenerate collagen, remove inflammation, clean up bacterial infections, you name it. It's a pretty impressive device that can help a lot of folks with a lot of symptoms that they're having. And if you've ever heard of red light therapy, this is a significantly upgraded version of that, to where we're concentrating on getting rid of junk and stuff in the face to help regenerate that skin, remove inflammation, help the eyes feel better, less dry, more moisturized. The Infinity Pro is different from other devices because you have the option of being able to combine multiple colors. So for example, if you ever have like a red lamp, a blue lamp, a green lamp, a yellow lamp, whatever the color is that you want, you can actually combine the red and the blue lamp to get a pink light out of it, which is impressive because you get the effect of red light, which is inflammation removal, blue light, which is antibacterial cleanup. You combine those two, you get the exact same effect, which is impressive. Conditions we're looking for the iPro-X and Infinity Pro, primarily we are looking at dry eye evaluation, but dry eye has historically been not talked about very well. A lot of times you ask folks, do you have dry eyes? No, my eyes aren't dry. They're extremely watery. That's because there's a lot of inflammation involved with extremely watery eyes or extremely dry eyes or even mild versions of these. So it takes a very good discussion between the doctor and the patient in order to figure out if you're going to be a candidate for these devices and these procedures, because it helps to be able to have that conversation and know where your dry eyes are coming from and what you need to be able to be doing about it in order to get rid of that inflammation. Because that's the key, inflammation removal. If you look at most diseases, they're mostly inflammatory driven, and dry eyes is no different. It's an inflammatory multifactorial condition that we need to be able to use these devices to help remove inflammation. A good candidate for these devices are, one, someone that gets their eyes checked by their optometrist, and in this case, any of our docs at either store, we're going to be screening folks for this just to see if you are going to be a candidate for this. Two, the correct diagnosis, whether it's dry eye, inflammation, you name it, because we are optometrists, we're taking care of eyes, but there's some also added side effects with these devices and procedures. For the past several years, we've been seeing an uptick and an explosion of dry eye, inflammatory eye, watery eye, you name it. And there needs to be some better ways that led us to be able to get into integrating these devices in order to help take care of folks. We started out with little heated masks. We moved on to different devices. We're moving on to this because this has actually been around for the past several decades, and dermatology has historically used this. But the difference is that we go from the cheekbone up. We go after the eyes. We go after the forehead. We go after all the areas around the oil glands around your eyelids. It's an impressive management of technology for sure. As we integrate these two devices into our practice, we can actually combine multiple treatments into one therapy session. It's pretty impressive because you're going to feel significantly better and your eyes are going to see so much better and your vision will be so much more clear and crisp when that tear film comes back. So you can have the iPro-X and the Infinity Pro in a same therapeutic session, which is an impressive feat of technology and engineering to be able to help take care of people in their eyes and help their tear film and glands and everything come back to be more normalized. you can expect to see the results within the next day or two, honestly. It may take a few days for some folks, it may take a week or two, but it usually is pretty quick for how quickly that skin gets regenerated, the inflammation gets removed, and for some treatment sessions, we may even do some gland expression, which can really help change the game on a lot of things. By gently tugging on the lids, getting all the juiced up oil out of the lids in order to jumpstart your oil gland production. It's an impressive feat. This is called Meibomian Gland Expression. As far as downtime post-procedure, there's not really going to be any time where you need to be down and out. You can put some sunscreen on and enjoy the sun and be able to get outside and appreciate what these new procedures and technology can help remove inflammation in your eyes. And most folks are going to be able to experience the results within a few days, maybe a week or two after the procedures are done. Depends on if we do any gland extraction or not, which just means that we just kind of gently squeeze on the lids, and that'll be case by case driven. But talk with your doctor and make sure that we're on the same page. It gets you seeing better, your eyes feeling better, and as an added bonus for your face actually looking better as well, because it removes wrinkles, inflammation, crow's feet, you name it. It's impressive.
Okay. Hey, look at that. Fantastic technology. It's really good. Hey, I just want to thank you all for joining in. This is pretty exciting stuff. This is cutting edge stuff. And what we're going to talk about, I know seems kind of strange and weird. So we're just going to kind of walk through it with you a little bit. This is a live event. So we're not recorded. We're not rehearsed. We're not professionals. Well, we're professionals, but not professionals in videography. So hang around, though. Like what Dr. Bryce said, after the event, we'll tell you how to put your name in for a free treatment session. Okay. So, over the years, we have been managing dry eyes kind of with a cane fishing pole. And now we've got a rod and a reel, and it's got ball bearings in it, and it can do some good out there. One of the problems that we get into with dry eyes is we used to only be able to manage the symptoms. And when you're just managing the symptoms, it's very discouraging because you still see things tend to degenerate, and you're just trying to prolong the inevitable. Which that's not great medicine, but sometimes that's all you got. Well, things have changed, and we've got some options now we've never seen before, and it's pretty impressive. Let's go back to what Dr. Bryce said about inflammation. Inflammation is one of the biggest problems. So give us some scoop on what you've seen with inflammation.
Sure. And for those of you that have questions that come up along the way, there's two ways you can submit it. I believe one way is you can submit it in the chat if you're on Zoom, or you can submit it in the Q&A box here. That's on your bottom little toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom page, basically. But yeah, back to inflammation. So inflammation is, a lot of times the way I like to explain it to people is this. Your body collects a lot of waste products from your cells. You're taking in a lot of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, and you're making a lot of waste products as a result of that. And a lot of times what happens is that the cells, the glands, everything gets too constipated, basically. Gross to think about.
Ooh.
But this is what happens. Your cells make waste products, but they get stuck and jammed up with too much waste products on the outside of the cell and in the inside of the cell.
I hate jammed up.
Ooh, jammed.
Oh, jammed up.
You jam or jelly?
You know what? I want to be loose and flowing. I don't like that, the thick, that's not good.
So it's like garbage trucks that bring vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in, drop it off in your cell for your cells to use, and then the garbage truck is there's another one that's supposed to take the waste products out. The problem with that exiting garbage truck is that sometimes the transmission fails, sometimes the engine doesn't start up, sometimes the battery's dead, sometimes you're out of gas, sometimes the wheels fall off, and you have too much inflammation jamming up and constipating those cells. And that's what happens a lot of times with most conditions in the human body. Whether it's dry eye, whether it's autoimmune conditions, whether it's anything you can imagine that has some level of inflammation to it.
So that's kind of like a waste removal problem.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's a waste removal problem.
And is that sometimes, I've heard this talked about, like, and this really has little to do with this, but is that like the macula and the problems that you get into with the macula? Is the waste removal on it too?
Yeah, that goes in a lot of times with macular degeneration because there's just too much lipids and proteins and all kinds of stuff that gets stuck on the
Too much
outside of the
sludge
retina
and not
that it
enough.
just breaks down, and the waste removal system can't keep up with it, basically.
Got it. So that's what's going on with people's meibomian glands.
Yeah.
Is just got too much junk, can't get the junk out, and it gets clogged up, and next thing you know, we've got a clogged drain.
Exactly.
I see.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Well, so one of the things that we have discovered with this is it's not talked about much. It's really new technology, and the information that's out there is kind of bad. And here's why. We'll have patients come in and they're like, my vision's foggy. I can't see at night. I've got glare. And so we check their glasses, we check their eyes, we do all the stuff that we have been going through for, gosh, we're on third generation with Dr. Bryce now. And it's like not helping. And it's like, how come the new glasses aren't doing it better? And we'll hear things like this. Well, you know, my eyes, they feel like a desert. They feel dirty. They feel gritty. And here's the weird thing. They'll have tears running down their cheeks, and they're like, my eyes are so dry. And so we've looked at things with this. And tell me about when someone's got this, when tears are running down their cheeks, how can they have dry eyes?
That's where it gets really weird. So we talk about dry eyes a lot in eye care, but most of the time when people come in, they have their eyes checked on or think their glasses are messed up or contact lenses aren't working. It's not that they're not too dry, they're too dry. It's that they're too watery. Like my eyes feel like that they're watery. My eyes feel like they have sandpaper in them. My eyes feel like my contact lenses keep tearing in half for some reason. And it's an overabundance of water production. But why is the water production happening? Well, you've got layers of your tear film. You've got oil, water, and mucus, and light's supposed to go through all those layers to get to the back of your eyes to help you see more clearly. All of the layers are made from different glands and different cells. So if you don't have enough oil, the main focus of what we're talking about, that oil layer, that topmost layer is the most important. If you're diminishing or lacking or anything like that, and it's already pretty thin, so if you're lacking in it, that water layer is just going to spill out over. This is like gaps and holes and patches in your roof, basically, and water comes in and goes all kinds of nasty places, basically. So then usually it takes a lot of conversation and education with folks to kind of get to the root of the problem. What do we need to do? Is it dry? Is it watery? Is it all the above? Yes.
Yeah, and talking with you, I've seen like patients basically, you know, you can have all kinds of autoimmune things that can really complicate things. But basically, it's either you're not making enough water, or you don't have enough oil, or both. Mm-hmm. And we seem to find that a lot of the times the base problem is the oil, the tears. You know, like what you said, you got an oiliness, 97% salt water, and then kind of a mucin on the bottom. And the way the tears are, that 97%, that just keeps throwing it out, trying to get them wet. Well, the oil, it's like your lips in the wintertime or your hands in the wintertime, where they're kind of dry and chapped. And when you put some stuff on there to soften them up and re-oil them, things feel so much better. Well, that's the thing with the eyes that we get into on this. So the foggy cornea is kind of interesting, because when we have corneas that are kind of foggy, well, it's the outermost layer, but we know from education that the cornea is in a constant state of dehydration. So it's constantly needing water. That's why your mouth's wet, your eyes are wet. You know, there's certain things that our bodies make the amount of water that we need for our tears. But when you don't have the oil, it overproduces it. And, you know, we got water running down our cheeks. So we got a lot of people kind of bouncing into questions right now and kind of throwing things out at us. Let's hit the first one on this. What's the cost? That's the big question on this. And so we kind of roll it like this. We start off and we need to do an exam, because we need to make sure that what we know is what we know. And we want to make sure we're not just doing things to be doing things. We want to do an examination and determine the problem. So we kind of set up a plan when we're doing the examination on that. And for most people that have a problem, we're going to look at their tear breakup time. We're going to look at their meibomian gland images. We're going to check out how their eyes are doing to see what's going on with it. And then we would put them into what's called the tear spa. Ooh, doesn't that sound good? A spa. You know,
relaxing.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, said, how come that says tear spa there on it? And it's Saint
Sanitas per aquam or something like that.
I can't speak Latin. I can't speak
Latin. Some of y'all are going to do a lot better.
Yeah, I know. Sanitas per aquam. What does that mean?
Healing by water.
Healing by water. Yeah. So it is sanitizing, healing, water, and the last part, aqua. So it's healing by water. And so that's kind of why we called it the tear spa with this. Anyhow, back to the cost. The tear spa, $59 gets us into the tear spa. That's the cost for being admitted into it. That covers a lot of things, but that's it. It is what it is. Okay, bottom nickel on it. $349 is a treatment session. So it runs about $349 a treatment session. And here's the thing I want to tell you, because most of you just passed out and hit the floor on that one. $349, that is a treatment session. We do a lot of things. We do a cleaning on your lids. We do a couple of light things. We do an expression on that. You're going to spend about 45 minutes to an hour with the doctor. And the doctors are doing this. These aren't Texas isn't some guy in a white van down by the river doing it. No Chris Farley. But the treatment sessions, most people are probably going to need between 2 and 4 treatment sessions. And that's very actual because we haven't hit 5 on anybody. We've got fixed by 4. Most people are 2 to 3. So one of the things is how many of these procedures have we done?
We were just looking at that a few weeks ago, and a few weeks ago, coming up on Thanksgiving, we had come up on doing this. Me and my colleagues, we've done this on over 1,000 eyes at this point. So that's about 500 people when you look at it total. At least at the time we were looking at it a few weeks ago. So it's gone much more above and beyond that now. But it's been really insightful for us, just because there's a lot of times throughout our schooling, like we've got docs of different generations, different schooling time frames, that we were told that gland regeneration and restoration could not be done, and it's not possible.
That's no good.
No, it's not. But we weren't expecting anything to change.
But that's what the education's been doing for years and years.
That's what we were told.
Okay.
And it just shows you how medicine changes over time.
So what have you experienced? What have you seen with this?
There's gland regeneration and restoration happening because you're removing the inflammation from the outside of those glands, which is critical.
So you're telling me the whole educational system is going to have to redo all their school books and education on this?
They need to be more flexible.
Ooh,
that's what we're saying.
Son. Shut the video off. We just melted them down on that one.
Yeah.
But that's true.
Yeah.
Because the glands, and we do images on these, and you can see where they started at. And after doing some procedures, the regeneration of some of those glands, their numbers have gone up. And so you've sent a lot of studies into, I don't want to go into it because they don't probably want us talking about it, but you've sent a lot of things into information of extremely high level government entities. Okay, y'all know what that is I'm talking about. And we're saying it's not what we've been taught and what is in the books. Those glands are increasing.
Yeah.
So it's like that's huge.
And a lot of times when you get to the third treatment is when I usually do an infrared comparison, like when you came in for your regular eye exam and I infrared image your glands. And then as you go into your third treatment, that's where most people seem to be averaging out about right now. Is needing about 3, but we usually recommend between 2 and 4 depending on how you respond.
Right.
But the third treatment, there's been tons of regeneration in a lot of folks, which has been encouraging, and their eyes feel better, and they're seeing better, and their skin actually looks a little better too.
Okay, so we've done we've been treating this for a long time, doing things with it. This new technology that we just learned about, we got this in June. We went and got trained on it in May. We got it in June. We took a month to really get ourselves comfortable with it. We did all the employees. We were like really trying to learn that we know what we know and make sure that it wasn't smoke and mirrors. Because a lot of this stuff, when it's new technologies like this, it's like, oh, they got a great story, and man, it smells good and it looks good, but it ain't got no engine.
Yeah.
And it's like, do we have an engine? And we're like, yeah, we got an engine with this thing, because we started seeing results immediately with people. Of the 1,000 procedures that have been done, I can tell you, because I've been documenting things, there is probably only a handful of people, I'm talking like 6 or less, that have had less than spectacular results with it. And a lot of the times you get into these things, it's because they've got other health things that are complicating it. So sometimes we wanted this to work and it didn't work, but that's, I don't know, 6 out of 1,000 is like crazy good numbers compared to what we used to. Okay. You're doing the procedures. Tell them how bad it hurts.
Well, if you go back over the history of intense pulse light, it hurts like a rubber band snapping on your face. It is painful. But this is going back over 30 years of technology to where it's come at now. A lot of places will have second generation IPL, different things like that. This instrumentation we've acquired, as you saw in the presentation, the iPro X and Infinity Pro, which is the 3-panel light. That's all fourth generation stuff. It is like groundbreaking, game changing technology because we're integrating something called radio frequency now. Radio frequency has been used in collagen regeneration, skin tightening. So it makes it much more comfortable, and it just kind of feels like warmth on your face. It's like as if I took like a little a ping pong paddle and just touch it to your face and it's warm. That's pretty much all it feels like. Now
I can deal with that.
Yeah,
I can deal with that. You know what? The first ones. Let me tell you,
you're really good at ping pong too.
Oh well, you know, I kind of enjoy ping pong. I don't play as much as I used to, so somebody just hit me up in the chat and said, "Hey, let's go, buddy." You know what? You'd smoke me. Okay, let's look at another one from the chat. This one says, "Hey, I'm 88. I suffer from dry eyes terribly. Who is the oldest that you have done?"
So the oldest we've done so far is the early 90s. I'm thinking about 92.
Born in 92?
No, that was me. No.
Oh.
No, 92 years old. So
92 years old?
That's what I think the oldest one.
I think you're right. I think you're right because I've looked at the numbers on that, and I'm like, we had a 92-year-old that came in, been wanting help for years and years, and we brought him in and showed him what this would do, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, 92. Okay, let's. I wasn't expecting very good results, and they walked out, and I think it was in 3 treatments.
Yeah.
They were skipping out. Okay, a 92-year-old, when they can skip out, things have gone pretty well. How about the youngest?
This I think was about 10 years old, if I'm not mistaken. There was a 10-year-old with some dry eye symptoms that has really started to benefit from this as well too, and we're kind of waiting to do some more follow-ups. But 10 years old is the youngest we've done so far.
How can a 10-year-old have a problem? I mean, a 92-year-old, I'm thinking, yeah, their eyes are smoked. They're 92 years old, right? But tell me what you know about that.
So we're kind of finding some backwards stuff recently. I'm seeing better glands on the 90-year-olds for how they look on the exam compared to a lot of 20-year-olds. And probably something y'all are seeing a lot, which none of us really expected. Again, medicine changing, is a lot of iPad, computer, screen, phone, not blinking enough. Because when you don't blink enough, those glands shorten up over time. And it's what can primarily lead to the cause of dry eye. There's a study, I can share the link on it later. It's saying that at least like 5.5 to 25% of young folks under the age of 18 are experiencing some level of dry eye symptoms now that are at least kind of starting to describe.
That's terrible.
That's terrible. That's more than what we expected.
You know, well, we thought when we first got into this, we're like, well, it's an old person problem. You know, smelly old gray-haired people, right? You know, they're going to be the ones that's going to be the problem people. And yeah, they're problem people. They've got problems with their glands, but it's not an age thing. So the average person blinks on average 15 times per minute. You know, blink, 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 and every time we blink, it pumps oil. Blink, pumps oil. Blink, pumps oil. So you're getting that fresh oil tears on your corneas, which is in a constant state of dehydration. There's a test on this afterwards, in case you didn't know. So make sure and take notes of that. But when you are working with technology or on Zoom, okay, or the things that we do today, your blinking pattern goes down to roughly between 3 and 5 times per minute. I don't know if you're watching my eyes. I ain't blinking much. Well, why? Because I'm concentrating and I'm looking and I'm trying to absorb. And
a lot of moving pieces on the computer screen. I mean,
well,
a lot of us are doing this.
We do this, and the blinking pattern goes down. So 15 times per minute. You know, blink, blink, blink. Don't blink. Plugged. Yep. And that's what happens to those glands. And we're seeing that. The scary thing is we're seeing that on young people.
Yeah, we are.
Their glands are plugged and they're already atrophying and going away. And it's a real deal. So gland atrophy, we call it Meibomian Gland Dysfunction, MGD. But it's basically the glands are atrophying because they can't get the oil out. So Bryce, once they're gone, those glands that are shrinking down and going away, you said that may not be permanent.
May not be permanent. Yeah.
So, and the ones that are there, we can help to get them open back up and get the oil flowing back into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to our next question on this. Somebody put in the chat, they said, hey, how's my insurance work with all this? You know what? I want to tell you about insurance. Here's what I would really love to do. I would love to tell you that insurance covers all of it and everything's taken care of. And I think it will be in the future because population-wise, in the U.S., we've gone from 2% having this problem to 86% today. So 86, you can't deny the problem's not there. But the insurance companies, they're way behind on the curve on this. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not. Maybe it just takes that long. But right now, insurance, we've looked at all of them, ain't nobody covering it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not great that they're not covering it, but they're probably going to cover it down the road in the future when they get caught up with things. Because I don't think you can deny it forever. Here's the problem I've got with insurance. The insurance people that are engaged with treating and managing this on a paying schedule for the insurance, they say, fix it with pills and drops. And I'm like, okay, pills and drops, yeah, that helps make people feel better and does manage it, but it doesn't keep those glands from getting shorter and shorter and shorter and going away. And there's a lot of people that really need some help today, that need help now. Yeah. So here's the bottom nickel. Insurance, they don't cover it. There's not one out there, and a lot of people have turned receipts in, and they've gotten no help. But I can tell you this, like flex spending, if you have flex spending or you have an HSA or we do care credit. That's a whole other thing. We can explain that to you, that you can do, and you can pay for it over 6 months, and there's no interest to it with care credit on that. So there's different ways to help finance it. Also, I want to tell you this. I'm talking a lot, aren't I? You know what? I'm excited.
You're good at this.
I love it. You know what? Here's why I love it. I got it, and it helped.
I got it too.
And I'm so excited because it's like I didn't realize how bad my eyes felt until they feel good. And then once they feel good, I'm like, doggone, I want everybody to feel this because teenager eyes, that's what we call them. We're like, you're walking out with teenager eyes.
You don't realize how long you've been in the ditch for until they pull you out of the ditch, clean your car off, and send you back on the road.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So paying for it, we can figure it out. The treatment sessions on this, between 2 and 4 treatments, we want to do those between 2 and 4 weeks. So this isn't something we're going to like jam in 3 days. We need time for the energy to set up and for the glands to start to soften up. So when we start doing the expressions, we can get the mud out of the hose and get your eyes feeling better. So some people are doing it like, once a month. Some people are doing it every 2 weeks, anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks. If we go longer than 4 weeks, we kind of lose some ground, and you wind up having to do a little bit more work on it. So, okay, so let's look at our next question here, Dr. Bryce. It says, I had LASIK and my eyes suffer from dryness terribly. Can this help me?
Yeah, significantly. There's a lot of post-refractive folks, whether it's RK, PRK, LASIK, even if you had CK for a time, even the new SMILE procedure that's out there. You can definitely benefit and be blessed by this stuff because there's a lot of folks that I've had the opportunity to work with that have had this level of dryness impacted from the refractive surgery that have seen life-changing results because you're getting that oily layer back to fill in more of that watery layer more. So it's been amazingly helpful for those folks.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because it's a real deal. And once you sever those nerves, you don't have the sensation of dryness, and you have dryness, right? Yeah. I know. Yeah. Okay. Next question up. It says, I have lupus and I am allergic to the sun. That's terrible. Can you imagine that? That's rough. Anyhow, it says, can my eyes get any help from the dryness? And the answer is yes. Here's why. We got all kinds of options. We got options for people that are skin sensitive. We got options for people that that can't get out in the sun. We've got options for people that they can't have IPL because their skin is too pigmented. And Dr. Bryce will tell you, not so with 4th generation, because we're doing it and it is working and it's really helping people with that.
Yeah.
So, hey, Dr. Bryce, somebody comes in, they get the procedures. Tell me about their drive home. Are they going to need somebody to drive them?
Nope, not at all. There's no driving restrictions like a dilation with an exam or anything like that. You might find for the first day you could be more sensitive to sunlight. So let's say in like the summertime, if you do this, if you're mowing 20 acres of yard or playing 18 holes of golf, you might want to put some SPF 30 or greater on your face, and we talk about that with everybody. But as far as immediate vision complications afterwards, no, not at all.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
Well, that's great. So drive out better than we drove in?
Sure, you'll feel better.
But what if our driving's terrible? It has nothing to do with our eyes.
Well,
You're like the rest of the world.
Then you get into psychological components.
Okay.
We got another question.
Oh, hit me. Yeah.
So how is this different from other lid cleaning procedures that I have done? So we've done a long-standing history of a lot of different dry eye procedures. whether it came back from just recommending heated eye shields, artificial tears, stuff that you kind of do at home, what we call at-home therapies now, which some folks can find helps maybe somewhat do some stuff. And if that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do with it. But there's been other things we've done over the course of the past several years, whether it's the BlephEx, which is that cleaning device, cleans the outside of the eyelids, which we're still integrating in this new stuff now. But there's another instrument we still use for some folks who are not candidates for this new procedure, these new procedures, called the iLux Square. That's just a heating device that we use in different eyelids, one set at a time. We numb you up for comfort. But the iLux is just heating and expression of those glands, which is great. It's awesome. It is very expensive equipment and technology, just like this other stuff. But that was kind of our next step. We've had a story with this. Like we've kind of built on one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. So it started off with heated eye shields and eye drops and different things like that. We moved to what's called the BlephEx and the iLux Squared, which was a good jump for us. Now we're moving on to going after inflammation because we're finding from the latest studies and research that inflammation is the root cause of all this. And when you can remove that, heat it and express it and open the glands up, it makes a huge difference for long-standing results. And me personally, I'm sure you feel the same way too, Mark, that our results from having done the IPL-RF, the low-level light, the gland expressions, the way that we're doing it now compared to what we were doing with BlephEx and iLux previously, it's a lot longer lasting, and it seems to stick around longer because we're taking care of inflammation. We're removing that from the equation now.
I think you're right. I've seen it. It's evolving, and we're growing with the industry and buying into the technology that's proven itself, that's really working. So it's kind of like, we started off with a horse and buggy, and that was great compared to what we had before. And then we kind of moved into, the first engine automobile that doesn't need a horse and buggy. And it's like, this is great, And then next thing you know, we're driving a Lamborghini around, and we're like, oh my goodness, this thing's got the horsepower and can get the job done. So anyhow, next question is, how often does this need to be repeated? It says once I'm clean and clear, how often do I need to come back and get it done?
That's going to look different for everybody from what we're finding from some of our graduates that we call them graduates. Like when you complete the program series of the Tear Spa from 2 to 4 treatments of what's recommended for you, your maintenance booster is going to look like this. You might need one round of all this stuff, not multiple, but one round, maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years, maybe once every 6 months if you have a lot of extreme dryness stuff going on. It's just to kind of keep that inflammation out because it will come back, but it's to kind of keep it more managed and contained at a level that you're not going to notice the problems with it.
So once we get the things kind of cleaned out, they can stay cleaned out, but every now and then we might just need a booster to help keep it from getting in the situation that it was
exactly
from when we started. I got you going on that. Okay. Next question for you, Dr. Bryce. Does this burn? Does this cause skin cancer?
No and no, the way that we do this.
Oh, I'm so excited. I thought you were going to say yes to both. I was like, what did we just do? Okay. So no and no. Well, there's a good answer on that. No burn.
No burn.
So when you do this to somebody, they don't feel like that they've been put out in the sun and baked all day long.
Now, if it was just IPL only, yes, it would burn. But because when you have,
what are we talking about? Like first generation?
That's like first and second generation.
Okay.
Third generation was kind of moving in the right direction. Fourth generation has made it much more comfortable and tolerable.
Okay, and I'm glad it didn't cause skin cancer.
Me too.
I know.
Especially since it comes from dermatology.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So next question says, you guys, hey, let me just tell you this. You guys are asking phenomenal questions. I really appreciate your engagement, and hit us with more questions on things that you want to know about. The next one says, do I do this with my eyes open or closed? And then the question right underneath that says, do I need to take anxiety medications before coming in? Yes, you do. Okay, and bring some for us too. No, don't say that. Don't say that. We do not do this with your eyes open. The procedure is done, the doctors do this, and they use protective little devices so that it doesn't, you can't harm your eyes with it. And then the other thing is, one of the other procedures it's done and your eyes are closed. So you don't have to watch. Some people kind of get anxiety when they got to see things done with their eyes. And then also, let's get serious about taking anxiety medications, because I was really kind of kidding about that. Some people really do have anxiety. And when you're working around somebody's eyes, the eyes are one of the few things that's really connected directly into the nervous system. We have patients that we're working with, and let's just go first-time contact lens wearers, and you're putting contact lenses on, you're trying to show it, and they touch their eye.
Yep.
And it happened, and
This is a real thing.
it really does happen.
Yeah.
But with this, we'll talk you through it. We'll work with you on it. I can tell you this: none of it hurts. The doctors are phenomenal. They've got very soft hands. We send them to the manicurist at least 6 times a day. Okay, but they're very skilled at what they do, and they're very gentle with what they do. And so, but if you do have anxiety and you do take medications, and you want to take some before you were having the procedure done, it ain't going to make for us doing what we need to be doing, it's not going to hurt anything. And actually, it's going to help you. And then I've had people that have said, okay, yeah, I did. And okay, I took my medications of anxiety before I came in. And then the next time they come back in for the second treatment, number 2, I'm like, okay, so how are you doing? Did you take some of your medication before you came in? They're like, no, because it wasn't near as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I really didn't think that, it made much of a difference. And I'm like, fabulous. The level of anxiety sometimes it can be elevated because it's unknown, and so that's a real deal. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Another question is, what if you have diabetic retinopathy? There are several folks that we've had the opportunity to work with on this, whether they're type 1, type 2, or any other number of health complications. This does not disqualify, those conditions do not disqualify you from these kinds of procedures. Now, some things to take caution consideration into is if you've had shingles recently, recent history of skin cancer, implanted medical devices like an Inspire, like CPAP replacement, or a pacemaker, or different things like that. And there's different ways we might cater and recommend the way that these procedures should go down for you, because you may not be able to experience the full boat. Like, let's say with medically implanted devices, you're not supposed to use radio frequency with that because it can interfere with the communication for what's going on with it. So we turn the radio frequency off for those folks.
Oh, you can do that?
You can do that. It's pretty great. With the machine, you can turn on the IPL, you can turn on the RF, you can turn off the IPL, you can turn off the RF. So this is what allows us to actually work with folks who have skin types 5 through 6. This is on the Fitzpatrick scale of skin type. That's a mouthful, right? So there's 6 types. You got anyone down from Nicole Kidman all the way up to Whoopi Goldberg, basically. Nicole Kidman's a 1, Whoopi Goldberg's a 6, and everyone's going to be somewhere in the middle of all that, basically. And previously with IPL, you could not do IPL, and you still cannot do purely IPL on skin types 5 and 6. But you can do radio frequency and not depigment those patients because they will have darker skin, and you can lighten it and make it very cosmetically displeasing if you do IPL on that. So, brain explode.
You just exploded my brain on all that. So basically you're telling me this. This isn't like a car wash that you just pull your car in and you punch a button and everybody gets the same thing.
No.
You actually design the system. The doctors that do these procedures in our clinics are designing the system for that particular patient for whatever they got going on.
Yep.
And if somebody's like, would normally be kicked out because they're like, oh, you've got a pacemaker, we can't touch you. There's ways that we can use the technology in different fashions and not damage the things that people have going on. That's impressive.
There's different things that we ask everyone a large Q&A question history sheet about different things that are going on. Like, for example, do you have tattooed eyeliner? Do you use St. John's wort? Like, all kinds of different things we go through to see if there's things that we need to kind of modify the treatment to make it more effective for you, basically.
One question on there again. Well, actually, there's a lot of questions that are hitting the same thing. It says, does this hurt? And I think we kind of touched on it. Let's talk about that just a little bit more. The eyes are a sensitive area, and we do use topical numbing drops to help reduce the amount of sensation that you have. And not because it hurts. A lot of times it's like, oh, is it like going to the dentist and getting a shot? It isn't like that. The thing is, it tickles. And so one of the things is to make it more comfortable for people. You put some numbing drops on them, and then you can do the procedures without, making them uncomfortable. And so it's a pretty good thing. I know. I just want to tell everyone about this. We'll hit one more question here in a second. My Bryce's grandpa, my dad, he has had some things done in the past, and just this last week, we talked to him and said, hey, we got this event coming up, and we'd like to have you come and experience this. And in the past, drops and pills were the flavor that he wanted to use, because he's like, the other stuff, drops and pills, that's, and I think we sometimes get inoculated into the mindset that pills and drops are the thing that fixes things, and it does. It can. There are things that when somebody comes in and their eyes are all flamed out, you got to start with pills and drops.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start. You got to get that calmed down before you do this. So I'm not just bashing that, but I do want to say this is more than that. And so Dad comes in, and we put him through the procedures on that, and Bryce does everything to him. And you visited with him, what was it, last Sunday?
Sunday.
How's he doing?
I asked him how his eyes were feeling after he had it done. So this was just 2 days after he had it done. He said, "Oh, my eyes feel great. Actually, they feel phenomenal."
I'm glad to hear that, because
I was too, because then they never know what kind of response to get. Not from him, but I'm talking to everybody.
Well, you know what? And a lot of times people will say, "Well, like the very day afterwards, they're like, well, I feel a little worked over." Well, yeah, because we did work you over. Yeah. But usually within a couple of days, you start feeling really good. And a lot of people walk out feeling much better than what they walked in doing. But I'm glad Dad's doing better, because if he wasn't, I wouldn't recommend him come back and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hit us with another question.
So this one, not really a question, but it's probably the question that many of you are wanting to know right now. How does this registration for entering to win the free treatment work? We're going to give one away to someone tonight.
Are we really?
We are.
I think we ought to give away 2.
2?
Maybe.
Let's do 2.
Do you think 2?
Yeah, let's go for 2.
Well, let's see. How many wise men were there?
There could have been anywhere between 2 and 12.
What's the song?
We Three Kings?
We Three Kings. They're wise men, right? But wasn't that right? The 3 kings, weren't they the wise men? We Three Kings, the wise men? Somebody put that in the chat. I'm going with it. Let's go with 3. Let's go with 3. So here's what we're going to do. We need for you to do something for us. Pop it up on the screen. The first 3 that send this text in to our phone number at the clinic, there'll be a drawing. But the first 3 that do it correctly, spell it correctly, and do it just like what we have up on the screen. It's wet your winkers, or just wet winkers.
The first 3 to message this phone number. To message this phone number.
Yes.
That's 417-882-3937. That's Heffington South. That way we can kind of track and make sure that we've got you registered for it. The entries are going to close at midnight, but the first 3 people that text the phrase "wet winkers."
Who came up with that?
Who did?
Was that Grandpa? Was that Grandpa?
No, I think that was his son.
Oh, that was me. I get it from him.
His son, not
his
brother.
But yeah, it's wet winkers. Isn't that a funny thing? But you know what? That's what we want. We want your winkers to be wet. Yeah. We do. We want to see eyes nice and wet. We want moisturized. Yeah, good. Yeah. So text wet winkers to that 417-882-3937, and it'll be closed at midnight tonight for the event. Mm-hmm. And the first 3 that we go through, we'll check it in the morning, so you won't hear anything for a day or so. Yeah. But we'll do a drawing on this and pull those first 3 out. And here's one thing I want to let you know about this. We will need to take a look at you if you won one of these, because we want to make sure that we're doing things correctly. And we're not just going to be doing things to be doing things. Mm-hmm. So we'll bring you in, we'll do an exam on you. If you got insurance, we'll use your insurance. If you don't, we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about that. But I do want to make sure that we are checking you for what is going on. We'll do a tear breakup time. We'll take some pictures of your glands and see how they kind of look. And most of the people that are probably already texted that in, they've already probably got a problem. Yeah. But we just want to make sure. And sometimes we need to calm things down before we start doing these procedures, because you can throw a match into gasoline and wish that you hadn't. Sometimes you got to calm the fire down, the inflammation down. But of everybody that you have done that to, with the medication and stuff like that, how long do you think maybe before they would be able to get the procedure if things are terrible?
I've seen anywhere from a few weeks to a few months.
Okay.
Usually is kind of the turnaround time to get the inflammation to a manageable
level. That's the worst.
That's the worst.
That's the worst. Yeah. And so a lot of people come in and they're not inflamed, and they can have the procedure done like right on the spot.
And that's the thing too, is that an examination is going to be the first thing if you haven't already had that done, because we got to know where you're at, where to start with, and what's going to be best for you, because some of this stuff is going to be beneficial. Some of this stuff may not be beneficial. And that's why the examination is key with all this and where it begins with everything.
That's great. There was one more question on there that just kind of popped up, and it said, hey, I've got 2 teenagers. What do you think?
Wrong keyboard. I was going to text it right there.
Oh, no. Here you go. Go ahead.
Yep. I was going to message that in the chat just in case anybody needed to take a look at it again.
Yeah, do that. It says, I've got 2 teenagers, and I think they both got dry eyes. They're on technology way too much. Actually, they want us to talk to them about being on their technology too much, which we can do. But as parents, we need to double team them. They need to hear from us and from you. But here's the deal. the youth and the younger generation, we're concerned about it. We're concerned about their glands and what we're seeing going on with it. There was a study done that it's a huge study. It was a dry eye disease on a study for kids. How can we get that information to people who want to read it? And let me tell you, this is a lot of information in this study. Give them an overview of it real quick.
So basically, they're looking at how much screen time these children are on, how much reading they're doing, what their blink reflex is like, what their symptomatic presentation is. That's all the stuff that's being looked at in this stuff. And you're looking at stuff like myopia management and all kinds of other things with this as well, too. So there's kind of a mixed bag of things that they were looking at with all this. But we're kind of focusing on the dry eye thing because that's what's presenting a lot of people's symptomatic problems here. So if you want more information on this study, just text us at that 417-882-3937 number. Let us know if you want a link to that, and we can send you that link directly to get you access.
Text that number and just say kids. That's all you need to do is KIDS. And then we'll send you a link to the dry eye study where you can see all the whole studies on there that you can read through on it. But the bottom nickel on it is our next generation, our younger generation, because of the technology and the things that we're doing, it ain't an old person problem, and it ain't a makeup problem. It's too much screen time and not blinking right. And some of the glands, one of our interns who has graduated, getting ready to go to optometry school.
Yep, he's starting next year.
We're super excited about his glands. We were in the beginning stages on this, and we got the technology, and they said, "Hey, let's shoot me. Okay, the oldest man, the smelly old one in the corner. Let's bring him up and let's shoot his glands because he's going to be the worst, right?" And they shot mine, and yeah, they were bad. And then they looked around the room, the people that are helping us with this, and they said, "Let's do him next." And everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be perfect. It's going to be wonderful. His are going to look great." And his looked worse than mine. And he's 22.
Yep.
And so it's not a birthday thing.
No.
And it has to do with screen time and up close and not blinking right. And not just that, some people are doing hobbies. Some people, sewing and reading. Sometimes, we read when we blink, it interferes with our processes for reading. And that can be a problem that can be leading to it too. So
yeah, certainly.
It's real. Yeah. Anything else, Doc?
I think that's it. I think that's all the questions we've got coming in right now, but good questions so far.
Yeah,
everybody.
Thank you all. Hey, thanks for joining in with us.
Yeah.
And if you have questions, you can call us at the clinic, and we'll take your calls and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Playoffs, football, best restaurants to eat at. We don't care. We're just, we have fun at work. We really do. So we'd love to talk with you about your dry eyes and how we can help.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Thank you all for attending, and we do do these more in the future. Look forward to seeing you all more soon then, but other than that, just watch for that events page on the website. We'll update that regularly, and we'll notify you all as we're doing more events in the future if we do any more of these as well too. But thank you all for attending. Thank you for your questions, and we'll see you soon.